Good morning. Today we are finishing up our Goal Math chapter, and we are going to be putting together all the different things that we learned throughout chapter 11 on measurement. We are going to talk about how we can describe several ways to measure one object. Who remembers the 3 ways that we learned to measure things in chapter 11? Right. We learned how to measure length, height, and weight. Let's get started. These 2 boys are wanting to measure their book. They know they can measure in some different ways. This line here on the bottom, running left to right, is measuring the length of the book, how long or short it is. The next line here measures the height. This line runs from bottom to top of the book to measure how tall the book is. How else can we measure a book, do you think? We measured its length and its height. What else can we do to describe the book? Right, we can measure its weight. Who knows some ways that we can measure weight? Right, you could hold it in your hand. You can use a scale or a balance scale, just like we learned about in math on Tuesday. Here is a bottle of school glue. Who thinks they can show me which one of these 2 lines is measuring the length of the glue bottle? Let's see. Perfect. The length of the glue bottle, let's see if we can highlight it here. It's taking an extra moment, but that's okay. Perfect. The length of the glue bottle is the red line that runs across the bottom of the bottle from left to right. Let's see if we can highlight the line that represents the height of the glue bottle in blue. Perfect. As you see here, the blue line is running bottom to top to measure how tall the glue bottle stands. And as always, if we wanted to measure weight, we could measure it by holding or putting the glue bottle on a scale. We're going to get started next in our workbook pages. See you in a moment. Welcome back. Now it's time to use what we've learned throughout our chapter and practice together, and then you'll practice independently on your workbook pages or in your notebook. So we're going to look at this book. You already know that some ways to measure an object are length, height, and weight. Can you trace your finger along the line measuring length? Perfect. Length is right here. In this case, it's labeled here with the word length also. You can tell that that's the word length because I hear the sound L when I get my mouth ready to say the word length, and I see the L right here. Now, I want you to get ready to trace the line that represents the height of the book, which means how tall the book stands. Right. This line here from bottom to top, up and down, represents the height. And this word is labeled, the line is labeled with the word height. I know that because if I get my mouth ready to see the word height, I hear the sound in the beginning, and I look here and I see that the first letter is an H, which makes the sound perfect. Height is up and down, and length is straight across. Now, I think it will be a breeze for you to go through these next couple of pages because you are masters at measuring. But let's do a couple together. First, we're going to be using red and blue today. Red will represent length and blue will represent height. Let's measure how long the tape is. I'll start here at the bottom and go across as best as I can in a straight line to measure length. The blue line will represent the height of the tape. Perfect. Now, I'm not going to have you do the glue bottle. You can practice that on your own. Let's move forward to our next page. We're only going to do we're only going to do 5 and 3 together. So we'll measure the backpack and the juice box, and then as a bonus, I'm going to ask you to compare the lengths and the heights of the backpack and the juice box, and to keep in mind the weight of this object. So red measures my length of the backpack. Perfect. And blue will represent my height, how tall our backpack would stand if we set it down on a table or the floor. Perfect. Now let's move back to our juice box right here at purple butterfly number 5. Our length across, here we go, and our height up and down. Now I want you to think about the weight of these objects, how heavy or how light it is. Think about holding your backpack. Let's just say that there are maybe our homework folder and a lunchbox in our backpack. That's it. A backpack isn't too heavy usually, but can you pick it up with just the palm of your hand? Probably not. Let's think about the weight of the juice box. Suppose it's full with juice. Does it take you 2 hands to lift that up, or can you just hold it comfortably and move it up to your mouth to drink? Definitely. I think you can hold it pretty comfortably. It's not too heavy at all. Let's compare the two. We learned how to compare throughout our chapter. What can we say about the backpack's length compared to the juice box's length? Right, the backpack is longer than the juice box. The juice box is shorter than the backpack. Now, look at the blue lines to compare height. What can we say about the backpack's height and the juice box's height compared to one another? That's right. Our juice box is shorter than our backpack. Our backpack is taller than our juice box. And now think back again to the weight. Imagine holding a backpack in one hand, like a human balance scale, and a juice box in the other. How would your weights compare? Exactly. The backpack would be heavier than the juice box, and the juice box is lighter than the backpack, much easier to hold. Great job identifying height, length, and weight, and even comparing as a bonus. That wasn't even in the directions, but I know that Room 12 are masters at measurement. So, on your own or later today, during our Google Meets, we can do this page together. But just like we did together, you will use a red to represent the length and the blue to represent the height. At home, you can turn and talk to mom, dad, brothers, or sisters and talk about the other way to measure the object, which is weight. You've got it. If you want a bonus, you can even compare the objects of your choice, just like we did together. And lastly, our lesson check. For red apple number 1, you're just going to do the same thing, represent the length and the height, and talk about another way to measure the box of crayons if you choose. At this point, I think we are pros at measuring. Yellow sun number 2, it's a spiral review. You'll count how many you see, how many counters you see, and write the number on the line. Then in green leaf number 3, they're going to ask you to identify a rectangle. Wait, I don't even see a rectangle. That is strange. Very, very strange. Maybe they made a mistake. That's so strange. Instead of a rectangle, I'm going to ask you to talk about how the circle and the triangles are different from each other. Just in words. Okay, I guess everyone makes mistakes.